Update. My husband, 32M, is convinced I, 26F, am pregnant. I'm not, but he won't believe me. What do I do? Original post. I'm truly at a loss here. This situation has gotten worrying, and I don't know what to do with it. Since about a week, my husband became convinced I'm pregnant. I have no idea why, because I'm not. We haven't even started trying, though we do have plans in the future. We were just making conversation, and yeah, I did mention feeling tired, but that's all. A few hours later, he just came in so excited. I told him I'm not, but he won't let it go. He has made remarks about how happy he is, what a wonderful mother I'll be, what our baby will be like. Not all the time, but it has come up multiple times a day. I told him I'm not. I even took a test because even I started wondering, and it was undoubtedly negative. I showed him and he just got annoyed, said tests can be wrong. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. The next morning he acted as if nothing happened. When I tell him I'm not, he just kind of shuts me out. I lost my shit yesterday when we were in bed, and he put his hand on my stomach, told him he's acting crazy. I'm not pregnant, and his behavior is scaring me. He went to sleep in the guest room after that and left for work early in the morning. I haven't seen him or spoken to him today. I'm just at a loss. I don't know where this obsession is coming from. I even asked him if I gained weight, if that's what's gotten him confused. He assured me I didn't. I'm thinking of contacting his parents, or maybe a therapist or something. I honestly don't understand what's happening, and I'm worried about my husband. Thank you for all the replies. I didn't expect all this. It's been overwhelming, and I'm incredibly grateful. He's asleep next to me right now, and I keep going through all the comments. My husband is one of the kindest people I've ever met. I promise you all that he's not trying to manipulate me or would do anything to harm me. But that does make me believe something is really wrong. I'll contact Maya and his parents in the morning once he's left for work. Maybe go stay with my mom for a bit, though I hate the idea of leaving him like this. I also definitely will make an appointment with my doctor for a blood test. Thank you for all the advice. Now for the updates. Update 1. Hi everyone, I hope it's okay I post this update. I really appreciate everyone asking if I'm safe, and I am. I wish I could give clear answers, but I can't. Things escalated when I tried to speak to him, keeping some of y'all's advice in mind. I sat him down and explained to him that I'd love to have kids with him in the future, but that I'm not pregnant right now, and that his insistence worries and scares me. I told him we could go to the doctor together if that would put his mind at ease, or I could take another test in front of him. I was just hoping to snap him out of it somehow. He got very agitated, said many hurtful things, and accused me of being a liar many times, that I'm trying to keep our baby away from him and so on. Nothing made sense, and I wasn't feeling safe anymore. I knew my husband would never harm me in any way, but that wasn't my husband. Things got worse. He did hurt me, but nothing permanent or even emergency care worthy. I also know that if he was in his right mind, he never would have done anything like this. I called mine and his parents, and I'm now staying with my mom. He did seem to calm down a bit when his parents arrived. I haven't spoken to him since then. His mother, she's an angel, is keeping me posted about everything. We all agree something is very off about him, and we don't know what it is, but he hasn't agreed to getting himself checked out in any way. I don't know how they'll go about it, but they say, and I painfully have to agree, that it's best to keep my distance for a bit, as most of it is aimed at me. I'm safe, so is he. I miss him so much and just want an answer as to why he's being like this. I keep trying to figure out if there were signs before or what I did wrong. Thank you all for the replies. They were a great help. It's so kind you cared to ask if I'm safe. Update 2. I don't know if anyone will see this here, but you've all been so kind to keep asking whether or not we're okay. I hope I'll reach you like this. I'm going to keep this short. My husband has a brain tumor. A lot of people commented this, and I feel an immense amount of guilt that I hadn't considered it till then. All the headaches and other symptoms, in hindsight, we had previously dismissed because of his stressful work situation and so on. I'm beating myself up that I hadn't seen it before. A wonderful team of neurosurgeons, oncologists, and other physicians is figuring out the best approach here, if there is one. We'll hear more in the next days. I've spent more time with my husband. Some moments he's his amazing self, Others he's filled with anger. It's difficult, but we're managing. I wouldn't have been able to without the support of our friends and family. I love my husband. This situation is terrifying. In moments of clarity, he's trying to make me laugh, so I don't worry. That's who he is. Thank you, everyone, for pushing me to get him checked out. Story 2. Updated. HR won't do anything about a coworker who's angry about my weight loss. I just came back to work after a month-long emergency medical leave. The TLDR is that after a decade of medical gaslighting, a new doctor ordered an emergency MRI during a routine visit and discovered a mass in my abdomen. I was rushed into surgery within 24 hours. I ended up having an 18-pound benign tumor pressing on my vital organs, and I was about a week away from multiple organ failure. I'm lucky to be alive, and time will tell if I have any lasting organ damage, but right now everything is fine. Mentally, I'm struggling with a few things, but the only outwardly noticeable impact is that I've gone from a size 20 to a size 8. Nobody on my medical team anticipated a change this drastic, but I'm healthy and lucky. I was expecting to get a lot of questions from my coworkers because curiosity exists. I had a basic emergency surgery, but I'm fine now. Answer that almost everyone accepted, but one coworker who I hardly speak to, Aubrey. On my first day back to work, Aubrey came up to me and said, "I wish you had come to me to lose the weight instead of resorting to such drastic measures. You're going to gain it all back, you know. I'll be waiting." I was aware of Aubrey's reputation, but since we never worked together, I didn't think it would be an issue. She's one of those people who think they're a fitness expert and calls herself a health coach. Nothing to do with the company we work for. She has a reputation for giving out unsolicited and incorrect health advice and is always commenting on people's food choices. I was speechless when she asked why I opted to get butchered instead of putting in the hard work to lose the weight. There's nothing wrong with someone choosing surgical weight loss options, but that's not what happened to me, and I really resented her aggressive attitude spreading rumors. During my second week back, she came by my office at the end of the day in athletic gear, offering to go with me if I was too afraid to go to the gym alone. At the time, I wasn't even cleared to lift my kid, do laundry, or climb a flight of stairs, let alone go to the gym with this crackpot. I don't remember what I said to her, but she left saying I'd gain the weight back because I'm lazy. The next day, Aubrey ranted angrily about me in a meeting I wasn't in. Missed it for a follow-up, ironically. I don't know everything that was said, but the gist was that if I can't dedicate myself to weight loss, I obviously can't see my work obligations through. HR called for a red flag mediation. At our company, mediation can go against your bonus opportunities for the year. I have no idea why I'm in mediation when she's the one being an asshat. At the mediation, Aubrey stated that she was triggered by my new body and I should have thought of other people's feelings and warned her before my surgery. I hardly had time to warn my husband and get my kid out of daycare. I don't owe Aubrey anything. I have empathy that she's obviously struggling, but that does not excuse her behavior. HR said that while they can't ask me to explain my medical history, it might clear the air if I told her what kind of surgery I had and why. I said I wasn't obligated to share my medical information with anyone, and that Aubrey having bad coping skills doesn't entitle her to a coworker's personal health information. Their response was kind of, "Well then, we can't stop her from bullying you." After Thanksgiving, my doctor helped me put in ADA accommodation paperwork so I could work from home. I was having some mild complications from surgery, but also to avoid Aubrey. This company hates remote work, so they're really not happy. Aubrey still emails me workout videos and diet plans, and when I forward them to HR, their response is, "Noted. Do you know when you're coming back to the office?" I've been thinking about escalating this to corporate with an employment lawyer. Is that overkill? I'm still in a sensitive place after my surgery, and I have no energy for this, especially since Aubrey is fixated on weight loss, which was the primary way doctors gaslight me for years. I've been with this company for 5 years, and I'm just exhausted and disappointed in how they're handling this, and I want it over yesterday. Now for the updates. Update 1. All I have to say for this update is hold on to your banana pants. I saw a lot of comments asking where management was in all this, so I'll address that first. My boss, George, was getting ready to retire while this was going on. George is roughly my grandfather's age, so this entire situation bewildered both him and his replacement, who he was training at the time. Both of them met with Aubrey's boss because, believe me, I was documenting everything she did from the jump, and they all assured me that Aubrey would be dealt with. None of them recommended the red flag mediation. That was HR's idea. I was given details of the meeting where Aubrey ranted about me, and it was horrible. But apparently Aubrey was asked to leave by her own boss, while several other employees told her to stop. So managerially and in the office in general, people were trying to rein her in from many different angles. HR is where the ball dropped, and dropped hard. This company just has a poor HR structure and bad entry to mid-level HR. When Aubrey's boss referred her to HR regarding her negative behavior, HR took it upon themselves to consider it a mediation situation, which, remember, at our company can go against your bonus for the year. Despite communication from George, his replacement, and Aubrey's boss saying I wasn't in the wrong. When George found out about this, he spoke to the HR generalist manager, who said that my absence probably caused a lot of strain and extra work for Aubrey, when Aubrey's not even credentialed to do what I do. Management made a point to tell me how baffled and upset they were with HR's handling of the situation every time something came up. My company mentor was also a huge support during this time until she decided to take another job elsewhere. When my doctor extended my ADA work-from-home accommodation a second time, HR responded by telling me my attendance was a concern. I emailed their boss's boss, the HR director, and asked for clarification. He said I hadn't come into the office, so of course my attendance was a problem. I reiterated I had medical documentation stating that if WFH wasn't available, then they could refer to the FMLA documentation my medical team also sent. He replied that medical documentation, including both FMLA and AITA reasonable accommodations, doesn't hold much weight with the company. That's when I got a lawyer. Aubrey as a problem kind of drifted to the background when HR started their medical documentation doesn't matter campaign. On my lawyer's recommendation, I contacted the HR executive team, which is where this whole cursed situation came to light. And I did check with my lawyer about emailing this update, and they laughed and said I couldn't leave people hanging after all that. I called the chief HR officer, which for my company is going over like 5 people's heads, but I did it with George's and my new boss's blessings, who is the head of HR, and asked why my attendance was an issue when I had reasonable AD documentation. She had no idea what I was talking about, so I filled her in on all of it, including the mediation meeting and Aubrey's harassment and the HR director, her direct report, saying medical documentation didn't hold any weight with the company. She was speechless and asked to meet with me and my lawyer as soon as possible. My lawyer hardly had to do anything during the meeting because the CHRO was horrified at everything I told her. I've never actually seen steam come out of someone's ears, but if it was physically possible, it would have happened here. My lawyer didn't need to say a word, but just nodded and smiled when the CHRO offered an extended paid medical leave so I could handle my recovery, and said Aubrey constantly sending me fitness plans would be dealt with swiftly. I didn't hear anything out of Aubrey for a long time, but I did hear through some gossip channels that the HR staff involved in the red flag meeting threatening to write me up were let go. Aubrey wasn't fired because they believed she was misled by HR, so I understand that part even if I don't agree with it, but she was on a tight PIP for a while. Then she showed up at my house. Now we moved from banana pants to full-on banana ensemble. I'm still on leave, and out of the blue, Aubrey showed up at my door on a weekend with 2 other women in tow, and the commenters guessed it. She's in very deep with an MLM, or maybe a cult, I can't be sure at this point. Aubrey came over to demonstrate some workout techniques and give me some diet supplement samples and discuss a career opportunity because she was worried about my physical and professional health. She didn't make it past my mother-in-law, who has been a godsend right now. My mother-in-law made it clear where Aubrey could stick her demonstration, and they left in a hurry. I notified my lawyer and the CHRO, and suffice it to say, Aubrey is now a full-time wellness coach. I'm happy I went with my gut and got a lawyer because the company has changed so drastically over the last year, with the toxic HR department encouraging behavior like Aubrey's and spreading false information about medical leave and time off. The company is almost unrecognizable. Also, with my boss and mentor both gone, I don't know if I'm going to go back once I'm medically cleared. The company is also undergoing a restructuring right now, and my department may end up distributed between other parts of the company or even other parts of the state. I have been looking at jobs and doing some resume drafting for a full-time remote position since it feels like it might be a better fit. But many thanks to the comment section and all the support. Final update. I got an offer from a local company that's going fully remote with administration and management meeting up once a month. The salary was right. It's 90% remote. It's a good fit, so I'm happy with it. My role is HR adjacent as head of payroll. I report to the COO and was hired by the CEO and CO. I walk into our first admin meeting, and who is sitting across from me but the HR director who told me medical documentation doesn't matter and orchestrated my red flag meeting. Let's call him Bob. Bob is the interim HR director for this company. Bob looked very uncomfortable when he saw me. We went through some employee files, including several who are on maternity leave and 2 who were injured on a job site. Bob got quieter as we began reviewing medical documentation and approving paid leave. I smiled and looked him in the eye every time I asked, "And does Jill have her medical documentation?" "Great. Medical documentation holds a lot of weight. That's important stuff to have." He looked like he wanted to melt into his seat. At one point, he tried to argue against someone using their PTO to provide end-of-life care for a parent when they had ample PTO. I smiled and said, "You're right. Our employee support fund should cover half this time. It's a shame for them to have to lose all their PTO when they're obviously going to need it to heal and grieve over the next few months. Why don't you get me the paperwork for the support fund this afternoon?" "That's so generous." Everyone was happy and in agreement. He looked like he swallowed a lemon, but everyone was like, "OMG, Bob, how thoughtful." He had to eat it so bad and got me the documentation an hour later. Bob can suck it. Bob is also only a contractor, so he'll be moving on soon anyway. Medically, I'm doing better and very happy to move on from where I was. Aubrey's been full-on radio silence, which is perfect for me. Thanks AAM team and commenters. Story 3 are updated. My 28F BF30M is having some kind of meltdown after finding out my friend's 36F age. I've been dating my boyfriend Mike, fake name, for about 4 months and everything has been great up until now. This post is going to make Mike sound kind of crazy, but up till now, he's been the nicest, most laid-back guy I've ever dated. About a week ago, I was on a Zoom call with 2 of my friends, who we will call Annie and Sarah. Sarah is 27, Annie is 36. I was talking to Annie and Sarah, and Mike leaned over my shoulder to say hello. Because of the pandemic, he hasn't met either of them in person yet, and it was his first time actually meeting Annie at all. I wanted him to get to know my friends a bit, so I invited him to sit next to me and stick around. Sarah was talking about her dating woes and how the pandemic has made it harder to date than ever. Mike made this weird joke about how Sarah needs to find a guy quick because at 30 she's going to hit the wall and no man will want her anymore. He said it in this joking voice, but both Annie and Sarah looked weirded out. I was too, to be honest. Mike's never said anything like that before. I guess Mike picked up on the awkwardness because he started trying to explain himself and started saying all this stuff about how women age like milk. And it's not the same for guys, and men tend to date younger because after 30 they hold all the cards and can pick and choose. Annie said, "I haven't had any trouble meeting men." And Mike said, "Just wait until you hit 30 and lose your looks. It's all downhill from there." Annie just kind of laughed, and I had to tell Mike that she's 36, and obviously hasn't lost her looks if he's mistaking her for a 20-something. I said it kind of jokingly, but Mike just went silent and then walked off into my bedroom and slammed the door. That night and ever since then, he's been very moody and short with me and keeps making passive-aggressive comments about how I'm always against him and never have his back. We've never even had an argument before this, so I don't know where that's coming from. I've tried to bring up the Annie thing several times, and he either clams up and refuses to talk about it or turns it back into me. Annie and Sarah ganging up on him and bullying him, which I don't think any of us did. The rest of the time, he's just very short with me and keeps picking fights over tiny stupid things like my tone of voice being wrong. What do I do here? I really want to talk about what happened and about his views on women and men and aging because that's kind of concerning. I don't understand why my sweet, cool boyfriend has suddenly transformed into this weirdo because he got politely corrected once. How should I solve this? Now for the update. First of all, I want to say thank you. I didn't expect my post to get such a big reaction, but seeing everyone basically unanimously tell me Mike was bad news was the wake-up call I needed. As a matter of fact, it was actually Sarah who told me to make the post. She didn't like Mike at all after that Zoom call, and I had been kind of pushing back when she suggested I end the relationship. She didn't sound surprised at all when I told her Reddit unanimously said he was bad news. I think she was probably thinking, I told you so. I also called my dad after the Reddit post, and something he said basically cemented my decision to end it with Mike. He and my mom are the same age and have been happily married for 30 years. He said, if you stay with this man, then on your 30th birthday, you're going to be worrying he'll never find you beautiful again instead of celebrating the milestone. Don't waste your time with someone like that. Every time your mom has her birthday, I feel happy that she's choosing to spend another year growing older with me. And basically, that's what I want. And obviously, I wasn't going to have that with Mike. Anyway, long story short, I did break up with Mike. I texted him asking to meet up and talk. And when he asked what about, I told him we needed to discuss the Zoom call and how he'd been acting this week. I got more of the same stuff about how I'm a bully and ganging up on him, and he wants an apology from me. And even though I had wanted to do the breakup in person, I realized he was going to keep trying to turn it around into being my fault. So I just told him over text that I didn't want to see him anymore. He sent back whatever, grow up, and hasn't contacted me since. So that's that. Not a very interesting update, I know. But even though a big explosive argument might have been a more interesting update, I'm kind of glad to have avoided it.